Square4, baby. I'm going to show you how to make crazy Riddim Phaseplant bases like this. And like this. And like this. And like this. So basically all Riddim is the legendary Maelstrom sound, but I have to pay $30 a month for Reason, and I don't have that DAW. I have Ableton, and it is actually worth it, but sometimes I just don't have 30 bucks. So I've been stuck with Phaseplant, and I've actually started to get good at it. The whole sound behind Maelstrom is the Square4 grain wavetable, and all that is a square wave but with phases into it. We're going to recreate this. Let's take a serum, and what we're going to do is we're going to go to basic shapes. Let's put square. Let's put the unison on 4, global width all the way down, and then what we're going to do menu, resampled oscillator A. Okay, we're going to take the unison off, and we're going to play this. It's basically the whole Square4 sound, okay? I wanted to try it a little bit more in Phaseplant and see what I can make in Phaseplant, and this is the first one that I came up with. Let's go ahead and take all these effects off. We just take a listen to it by itself. So it's got that, and the reason why I did that because I wanted to add a disperser to this. I'm going to turn this on. Let's turn on the disperser, and it really helps with the disperser if you have envelopes like that. It really just enunciates the fact that it's on a disperser if you have envelopes like this. Okay, and I'll even turn this off so it's just one. Actually, no, let's not do that. Okay, and I put the unison on. And I'm going to put Square4. I mess with these dials. Spread is just mono and stereo whenever it comes to the unison. Mess with the blend a little bit. Everything's fine. I kind of played this to ear. And well, I just want to show you guys something real quick. With this envelope here, we're going to be doing something really interesting, okay? So, believe it or not, if you have an envelope, you're actually playing... It's actually frequency shifting whenever you're doing envelopes like this. And I'm going to show you an example of this. So we're going to have just a regular sine wave, and we're going to put this on an envelope here. Okay. I'll put this on loop. All right, let's get our analyzers out of here. I'm going to do a pop out. So you see how it's not just playing one note, okay? And the reason why I have it like this, you'll see that it's moving. It's like got two different frequencies and then it's closing off and spreading off. It's really interesting. Look at this. We're kind of moving into each other, okay? That's why people kind of like the wub. You know what I mean? I'm going to talk about this analyzer real quick. If you have this analyzer, if you go to the settings, if you put it on classic, this is a regular, it's going to be average logarithm, spectrogram, and you see how whenever it gets to the bass frequencies, it's not really that clear. Well, there's a special algorithm, and AU5 has a video about this, and that's what made me get into Wave Observer. And so now we got this special algorithm that adds the sharpness. You can see that there's other frequencies in here. It's not just one frequencies. If we do a volume envelope, okay, and if we take this envelope off, do it by itself. Interesting, right? We got the one there. There's some other things going on here, but that's because of the way that 16-bit kind of works. That's really interesting, but we got this solid one right here. So here's what I wanted to show you real quick. Basically, like a wub is basically two sine waves being played at a certain time that cancel each other out. So if you play this right here, there's no envelope on here, but you see how it's kind of wubbing itself? This is really cool. And so if we take this, see how the higher the pitch that we have, it starts going into each other? That's basically what happens whenever you detune, like with the Reese, you know what I mean? If you have a Reese, you could do that too. That's basically, it's because it's shifting up in frequencies. And so whenever you have more than one voice and they're being detuned from each other, it creates this really cool effect. So if you pitch up, it does that. That's why this Phaseplant is kind of working here. So if you got this envelope, it'll go in and out between the volumes and stuff. So you hear how initially it's phasing into each other really quick. And that's how we're getting the initial phasing. So we have the unison happening, we have the pitch shift, and it's gonna do all this crazy phasing and movement, which is the most important part. We got the disperser going on here. Okay, and then we add the pitch shifter. Now, this is another cool trick that I like to do, is if you take another serum, you want to frequency shift something, what you should try to do, which I think is really cool, is if you put the dry wet at 50%, put it on frequency shift, and this is just going to exaggerate it, but we're going to have it on 5, and we're going to play it. Put it by itself. Hear that? There's this really cool comb frequency shifter phase thing that's going on here, and I really like that, and we can do that with the other shifter. So basically, that Phaseplant shifter is basically this, but it's using grains, and then if we just go just a little like that, and I do that sometimes. It actually worked out in this one. That's what's happening here. I got this frequency shifter, I got the mix at 50%, and I barely have it doing it. So it's going to add a little bit more of that movement, and it's also adding more phases. And another thing too, not even to talk about the disperser. It's an all phase filter. So it's an all pass filter, and basically all it's doing is just messing with the phases. Right? Okay, so now that we have this with the pitch shifter, it adds like a little bit of depth to it. I hear it. It's like a delay. Yeah, it just makes it like offset a little bit. Another thing that I did is reverser. If you just take a delay, 10.2 milliseconds, and it's adding this comb frequency into it, and that also has to do with the phase, and it's going to move around with the phase, and all these phases are phasing into each other, and they're phasing. So basically, that's what this reverser is. It's going to take 114 milliseconds, and it's kind of like a delay, but it's not really. It's not going to play it again. It's going to reverse whatever you're playing after the first 144 milliseconds, which I think is cool. And you put the mix down on it, I think it's really cool. So let's take this, take that, okay, and just kind of just bring it down to taste. Let's listen to it by itself. Hear that type of sound that's going on there? I think that's really cool. Again, we're messing with the phase again, okay? And then after that, I got a little convolver. So if you go over here in the convolver section, you're gonna look at cabinets guitar, and basically these are impulse responses for guitars. So if you have Ableton amp, basically that's all that is. So we're gonna go over here, do amp. These right here are amps, and they have different styles of amps. And this button right here, all it's doing is changing the impulse response. And an impulse response is basically, I take a white noise, I put it through a filter, and it's not going to sound like white noise. It's going to sound like it has crazy EQ on it. Okay, so if you were to look at it, it's doing this, it's doing that at certain spots, it's doing one of these, and it's doing that, but there's like a whole bunch of them, right? That's what basically impulse response is, and it's like a little bit more finer, and it has a lot more different frequencies besides just the 4 that I put there, the dips and stuff like that. They got more than, than that. And that's basically what it's doing. I messed with the stretch here. So if you go to 100, let's put the mix all the way up. I didn't like that. Put it at 54. I just used my ears, okay? I just turned this dial until my dick felt good, okay? Thought it was too much, so I put down the mix. And then I felt like I needed some reverb, so we got the reverb over here. There we go. And then I added a filter over here because what I wanted to do is I actually made a sub in here, and I copied like the same envelope, but I kind of made it smoother. And this bass is here. Basically, it's the same thing. See, I got all these effects over here. It was from that one. So if we turn all this off, that's basically it. So I made a little envelope, made it smoother, made it a sine wave, and then I distorted it into each other. So we have we got a single sine wave going in the Phaseplant. There's no effects here. I just had this for organization. And then I kind of messed with these over here. Basically, it's just some clipping, and it's just making sure everything's getting heard, and it's also, basically this is an art form. It's making sure that the bass is mono, it's clipping things. And one of the things I wanted to show you here is that there's a clipper, but there's a 4-band clipper, which I think is pretty cool. I just got it from Cosrog. I'm really excited about this, actually. I'm going to mess with this a lot more. Basically, this is an all-pass filter, but with 4 ends onto it. It's EQing everything out, and it's a multi-band effect. And multi-band effects, they, cut off sections of the frequency chart, and they separate them, and then they put them back together with whatever effect that you're going to do. And so this is basically like an all-pass filter, a 4-band all-pass filter. And so that's another thing that it's doing, okay? So now that I got this, I figured out the relationship between the bass and this, and then I also added more phase. Shifting phase, you know what I mean? All pass, it's pretty cool. Okay. These are the effects that I added afterwards. I think I just added the OTT for OTT's sake. And basically that's just like how I use OTT now. I just put it in just for OTT's sake, and I just figure out something, you know what I mean? And later on I'll figure out what it did. So let's do this. So we're gonna turn this off. No, I put the OTT in here first. I messed with it, put the clip in here, did all this EQing, and the most important part is I put this DC offset here. The reason why I put this DC offset here is because I'm side chaining this sound, and DC offset helps with side chaining stuff. Basically, if something is, sine wave goes like this, sometimes when your DC offset is off, it goes like this, and it's going to clip at the top, but it's round at the bottom. That's what DC offset is. So it's taking and you got to be careful with this, because if you look at this, the majority of this is on the top, but the low end, on the low side of this phase right here, there's not really much going on. It's just a good habit to put the DC offset on there because of sidechain. It's going to get triggered, and it's going to put the volume down. And if you have all of your volume on one side and you press down, sometimes there's still more volume. It's interesting. It's something that I'm not wanting to go into yet, but I do understand that it does help with sidechain. I have it over here too. What is this? Over here. Yeah, I got the DC offset. Make sure that whenever everything is playing, it's in the middle. It's not on top or anything. There's no DC offset. I did check to see if it did anything. It really doesn't, but it's just a good habit to do. And I do feel like the sidechain's a little bit better. So we got the K clip. Let's see what's going on with the K clip. Dude, even more phasing. Look at that. Multi-bands. Look at that. I don't know. I just turned dials until my dick felt good. And then I put the mix down a little bit. Yeah. So if I put the mix all the way up, sounds weird. So we put it just down just a little bit, even just 15. Just kind of made that relationship a little bit better. I have utility here because I had the intro over here. Yeah, just doing a little volume envelope there to make the intro sound good. All right, so because I put OTT in here for OTT's sake, I want to see what it did. So if we take this OTT off, is there much of a difference? Yeah, it's messing with the reverb, and then it's also bringing out a little bit more high end, but it's also controlling it with the entire sound. Yeah, it sounds more high-endy, and then I put this OTT on here. You can also hear the disperser a little bit. Yeah, that's what that did. So we got our first bass done, okay? And I promise everything after this is gonna be a lot more quicker. And we're still using the same sub from earlier before. I didn't find any reason to do anything with it. I kept it at one same note, and the reason why I kind of did this is because the side chain again, the kick is at E and this note is at D, so it is gonna like hop in the bass notes. Okay, so as soon as this side chain is enabled, a different note gets played. So this low end is kind of like dancing. It's being kind of funky, and let's take a listen to it. And again, because that volume envelope is being put on there, there's other notes that it's also playing. It's a theory of mine. I don't think it's proven yet, but if you look at the spectrogram, it does that. I feel like you might be thinking I'm an idiot talking about this, but I swear there must be. I showed you my example, but okay, so let's get into this bass. I get the sub doing the same thing. It's hopping around with the kick, so we're not worried about our sub being one note. And here's what I did differently. I took off the disperser, took off the reverse. I changed it to 8, put the detune all the way down, and then I did some dry wet over here. By the way, last one. I put there's a mix knob over here, and I just put the mix knob low. So then, sorry about that. Let me get back to this. So you get this mix knob right here. If I were to fucking do this, sounds crazy. Which is really cool. I think that's pretty cool in Phaseplant is you can. Yeah, I wanted this for the intro, and then I wanted it to not do that anymore whenever it came in. All right, let's take a listen to this. I'm sorry. The convolution and this reverb is here, and I put like a dry wet of a hard clip that's dry wetted itself. Let's see what happens if we take it off. It brings out a little bit of high ends, and it also brings out the reverb a little bit. Again, I got this mix knob over here, but is another thing that's kind of happened is I messed with this 8 over here, and then this right here. See this symbol right here? It is the reverse symbol. So basically, the first time it's gonna play forward, and then it's gonna go back. So if I go like this. So let's put it back on too. Just kind of removed some things, added some variation because I got this LFO and it's doing this, backwards thing now. And I think I messed with this envelope. No, I think it's still doing the same. No. Okay, so before it was doing 24, now it's doing 13. There we go. Everything's good. Everything's great. Our impulse response. Basically, it's the same patch. But another thing that I did on here is I put legato on here, made it mono, and the other one's mono too. I put the glide on here, and I put it on legato. And you'll hear that whenever we are doing this section right here. Basically, I just laid out the D, and then I just messed around, played some notes, experimented until I found something that I liked. I also shifted it. I forgot, guys. Hey, I shifted it by 5 hertz. So if you got this shift right here, if you pull up this number, there's a certain frequency that your note is hitting, and let's say it's 33. Okay, and I add 5. Now it's 38. So it's like as if it changed a note, but it didn't really change the note. There we go. So what I did with this OT, let's see what the difference is on this OT and the other one. So I got time I got the amount on low, time on low. And this one I added a little bit more amount, a little bit more time. And then what did I do with this? I think I kept this. Yeah, this is the same except okay, I boosted this out a little bit. More mix, and then I added. See, this is what's cool about Cosrock is it gives you like a width knob. So you got the mids right here, and I have it so where it's a little bit more mono. So because if I don't, I feel like it's. I guess that's up to taste, but I felt like it controlled the stereo a little bit, especially when I need to make sure that my bass is mono. All right, let's go to our next bass. There we go. Here it is. Again, we added a phase thing, okay? I think I messed with this pulse width over here, kept the shift at 5, but now we're going to randomize this. Let me see if I did that on the last one. Yeah, I didn't have the last one randomized, but now this one's randomized, and now it creates a totally different sound, and then I added a little bit of a filter, which has like a little bit of a peak over here. Peak filter with the slope of 2, the snap, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, the theory is that we're just going to mess with this. We're going to mess with this phase, you know? We're going to mess with the phase here, and we're going to give a little bit more gain. Look at that. Over here on this end. And then what over here is I have this envelope, which is a lot different. But we're doing the, what is it on right now? It's on reverse, so it's going to play forward once, and it's going to be reversed. But now I have this envelope right here, so it's going to go through here, and it's doing that right there. And so therefore it's creating like this really cool movement. I went and got the filters. I did some low peak, did some notch, did some movement over there, and it's making it doing that I feel like it's doing that. Yeah, still doing the pitch shift. Right. Let's take these off. Then I add this. Isn't that cool? It sounds like it's phasering, right? So now that I got this, I turn this on. I turned off the reverser, but I kept it there in case I needed it. I stretched this just a little bit. And it has like a different sound to it. So if I go back to 50, 54 is where I had it. It's a little too crispy on the high end, so I stretched it. It adds that, you know, that fancy impulse response a little bit differently. I put the convolver here, and I faded it out, moved this over. I did all that, took this stuff off. See, these sounds sound completely different, but they came from the same patch, you know what I mean? Add some OTT, K-clip, to see if the settings are different. I clipped it a little bit more. I didn't do anything with the mid side here. I put it back to normal. Again, I'm doing some stuff with the legato notes, just finding something that I like, just messing around, experimenting. Let's go through here. This time, I did the same patch, I doubled it, but now I'm phase shifting. I took a square, messed with this stuff. I did this notch filter here, so it's got this little buzzies over here. And then now, see this over here? The output of this is now phasing into that. And I think that's cool. I still got the same movement from the other filters. Adding movement. And then this bit crush is really doing a lot of work. You get the bit crush here. I put the envelope here, right there. Just play with it till I found something I liked. I got the reverser again. Yep, it's going in and out of each other with that reverser. I really think that's cool. And then it's really bringing out this really cool, like this nosy sound, this forehead sound. Mess with the stretch again, but I found like a different one. And then still, it's on that dry, wet, hard clip. I heard somewhere, if you have like a lot of high end, if you have a compressor, it kind of controls it. I don't know if that's a fact or not, but I thought maybe I would try it. So I got 2 OTTs on here. I got the K-clip, showed you that. And then I have a glue compressor here. I did some EQ, final EQing, and then I did glue compressor. And let's see what this does. I feel like it's not going to do anything. It sounds better with it, but I'm not sure what it's doing. I'll be real honest. I just heard if there's high end, put it there. And, you know, and I think the real lesson of this, you know, sound design tutorial is just like, I just turn dials until I feel good about it. You know what I mean? Until my dick feels good, you know? And that's what like I really want to make videos for, is like just encourage you and not be scared. You don't need to use OTT for certain things. Like I don't think OTT makes anything sound good, but I put an OTT on something just for OTT's sake. And then I'll make a patch and I'll take the OTT off. I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds totally different now. And so force yourself to like make things happen. You know what I mean? And that's basically what I did here. I just took some things and I said, fuck, I got to make Phaseplant happen because I'm bored with Serum right now and I want to try a different workflow. And so that's what I did here. And I actually was like messing around with Phaseplant for like a solid week before I finally got anything good out of it. And now I do. And I feel like I need to show y'all. I'm going to add this project file as a download on my Patreon. So if you like this video, if you like the sound design, if you want these patches, if you want this project, you know, you got to dig into the project file. You'll find the patches in there. Go to my Patreon. You don't have to subscribe. You don't have to pay anything. It's a public, you know, thing over there. But if you want to donate, that'd be much appreciated. If you want to donate me $5, I'd much appreciate it, but you don't have to. It'd be pretty cool though. Another thing too is I have a Discord. We do feedback streams on Twitch. So go down in the links, go check out my social media. Definitely connect with me. I'm always down for teaching. I'm always down for goofing off, all that stuff. Thank you for watching the video.